Good morning.
Laura Hamilton, Executive Director, Lynchburg Beacon of Hope.
You bet.
Now, why Lynchburg Beacon of Hope? How many of these are there?
There's just us. But I
Okay.
think having Lynchburg in our name is so important because that is our main focus, the students of Lynchburg. That's who we love. That's who we work for every day.
So for you, why Beacon of Hope? What's the drive? What's the passion? What created this?
Well, so I know you remember 2008 to about 2010, the community had our dialogue on race and racism. And my dear friend Joan Foster was the mayor at the time. We all participated in numerous study circles, and my other good friend Roselle Schul was involved in that project. And she came to me and she said, we have an idea. Like she used to say, we have an idea. And this idea is that every student should be able to go on to whatever is next for him without impediment in our community. And that's the only way our community is going to stay strong. I said, I totally agree with that. How are we going to do it? And they were looking at a program that was just coming up in Kalamazoo, Michigan at the time called the Kalamazoo Promise. You know, it's now kind of the grandfather of the idea that you promise a student that there's money there, that money won't stop them from going on to whatever's next. And so we began the seeds of a promise program. And they had named it Beacon of Hope before. This was Roselle's Beacon of Hope. And she met with lots of amazing folks. And we started the initiative in 2011. So now we're going, 12 years strong. But we knew in 2011 that it was going to be really hard to privately raise the money we needed to raise overnight. So what we did is we dug into the two public high schools in Lynchburg, Heritage and Glass. We said, what is it that's keeping our students from going on to what's next? So about 57% of our kids went on to college, military, community college, certification, or a job. And that would leave, another big chunk of students
Almost half, 43%.
not going on to what's next. Floating in the ether. Yeah, that's kind of
Floundering in our community.
And that's, for a lot of us believe that that's part of the reason why our poverty rate was at 0.25%, why a third of our children don't have food security. All of the things are centered around intergenerational poverty. So our job was to figure out how to make what's next a reality for kids. So we opened in 2012, we opened these things called future centers.
Yes.
And they're really kind of the bread and butter of who we are. So we knew it's going to take a long time to raise $7 million, which is what it would take to launch the Promise program. But what we could do is affect change immediately in the schools by creating almost a private or boarding school level of college and career access in our urban public schools, making sure that every student was aware, had access to, and could afford what was next for them. And that's what happened.
And here we are.
Here we are. It is such a project of passion. It really is.
I can tell. You have the biggest smile on your face.
It's if you're staying student centered and you're thinking about, really knowing these kids by name and knowing their families and knowing our kids, hundreds of them, and their stories, it's not hard stuff.
So you have summer internships.
Yep.
And how do they work?
So this is a fairly new project. We were recognizing after, COVID was cruddy in so many ways, but great in so many ways, because it opened the doors to a lot of conversations with employers in our area in industries of growth. So employers that would take our students directly out of high school, train them up, send them on to whatever training is next, or head them right into the workforce. And what they were saying is, and you know this as well as anybody, that our kids were missing kind of critical soft skills that make them ready to be successful in the workplace. And not just our kids, but like adults in this community are missing some of those soft skills too. So we said, well, let's create an experiential opportunity that opens doors to our students where they can understand all the incredible jobs that are available to them here, staying close. And then for our employer side, how do we get our kids to be a better product coming out of high school? How are they going to be more work ready, whether they go to college, go to certification, or go directly into the workforce? So that was kind of the why around the internship. So we reached out to kind of 12 or 13, ended up with 13, this is 2 summers ago, 2022, 13 employers who said, yes, we want to take your high school kids, rising juniors or seniors, and we'll run them through, Beacon of Hope will run them through about 25 hours of training before we send them into their sites. And then they spend 3 weeks, the whole program is 80 hours on site working, at our banks, in real estate, at Southern Air, at Centra Health, at Framatome, doing all sorts of different types of experiential programming, so it might enlighten them on what they want to do. And it was wildly successful. We had 34 kids our first year, all but one successfully completed. The students are paid because our kids need to be paid. Mm-hmm. They need to have summer jobs. The feedback from the employers was incredible, and the students was incredible. And so we kind of blew it up this year, and we ended up with 90 students at 25 different sites, which was everything from those same types of places. We expanded out to our general contractors in the construction industry, welding, academy, marketing, anything you can think of that our students express interest in. We reached out to those employers. Nobody told us no, and they helped cover the cost of the training and then the site visits. So we have now 100 plus students who have experience, who are changing the way they think about working.
Well, and the experience in being involved in that, I think an enormous part of everybody's lack of success and or failure is the result of lack of self-esteem or no self-esteem.
Yep.
And when these people are in this workforce situation and day to day, they're meeting people, developing relationships, it's so much not about the compensation and the security and the self-esteem that they gain. And all of a sudden they think, oh my God, I can do this. When I get out of school, I can enter the workforce.
That's the key to the whole thing. And you can track data and measures and all the things to say, do you have more skills in XYZ at the end than you do at the beginning? But the number one thing that we learned from our students was that they had better self-efficacy, that they felt like they could ask a question, that they could send an email to an adult and they weren't going to sound dumb, that they could, there was kind of an etiquette lesson on how you have a business lunch with somebody. And our kids felt like that was really helpful. They all now, 34 plus 90 have LinkedIn profiles, which to leave high school with a LinkedIn profile is pretty amazing. It's just really, and I think once we start spreading that among our high school kids to say this is not abnormal, this is the expectation, that then the product changes.
Well, it's so much easier also when they know that the pressure's relieved when they know that it's a 90-day program.
Yes, it's okay it's great for the employers because the commitment is not insane. It's great for the kids because they're afraid that it might not be what they expect, and everybody's cool. It works.
Well, it works. They think, well, I can do anything for 90 days.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the students that generally, we kind of have a minimum age of 16 because to go through work permitting, it's just too much. So minimum age of 16, most of them were rising seniors. We had about a third rising juniors, and we had a few who had graduated and just weren't quite sure what was next. And that was, of those students, we had 6 of those. All of them ended up with job offers, either from the company they worked for or another company, which to us is like, okay, that's success,
That's actually amazing.
It's really cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you all had a human capital campaign where you raised this $7 million.
Yep, we did.
Now, how did that work? Because I know that I was involved in Lynchburg Humane, the local SPCA. I started volunteer work there when I was 12.
That doesn't surprise me, even a little bit.
all the weekends was the guy that cleaned out the horse stalls, which back then we had a red barn with no heat. And this was the dark ages, and we had 6 dogs per horse stall.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, and then time progressed, and I was on the board, and I was chairman of the committee to find the land for the current facility. And then after we raised $8.2 or $4 million, I told George Dawson, this is my swan song, I'm out. Nobody believed that.
Well played.
So I can feel your pain, but yet your great satisfaction. How do you raise $7 million?
Well, it was, again, just like just like the Humane Society, a total labor of love. But it was like a campaign I've never worked on before, because what we were raising is money to keep these programs alive, scholarship dollars for students. I mean, it was literally, we were out asking for folks to invest in kids' long-term success. And that's kind of ethereal. Like, to somebody to say, I don't know the person, I don't know how they're going to turn out, I don't know how this is going to work. So it really was kind of a leap of faith. But we had originally set out to raise 5, which is what we thought would be the bare minimum. And we raised, well, 7 for the campaign itself, but we've raised in excess of 12 million for Lynchburg City Schools over the last 12 years. And it's helped to fund this promise, meaning every student, it started in 2019 and it's now funded through 2027. But what we really will probably start doing in the next couple of years is to create a program in perpetuity, so that I can legitimately tell a kindergartner that there is a scholarship, that they can get that training, that they can go to community college and afford it, that they can transfer those funds to any of the local Stay-Close Go Far partner schools. So UL, Liberty, Randolph, Sweetbriar, Central College of Nursing, Longwood now, and CVCC, of course, so it can go.
Yeah, so in my research, I read you really you have a desire, or the decision was made to keep these children in a more local educational facility.
Yes.
And is that so that they might do an internship, they attend and finish, they obtain their degree from a college or university locally, and then hopefully we're recycling them back into our community?
Totally. That's the long term.
That's very smart.
Stickability, like the idea, and what, research shows that, most kids will stay within 2 hours of where they go to school. And so if we can keep them here and the internships happen here, and it really is like, at the end of the day, it's a human initiative, but the truth is it's a workforce initiative as much as it is.
Most definitely,
yeah.
Which we really need.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every community does, and maybe I'm just a little bit more focused because I'm a native, and I've been 42 years in real estate. I've seen just about everything.
You've seen about everything.
and we need good help. It's hard to find. So originally, though, this was a high school program.
Still is.
But then it backed into elementary, middle.
It did.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So the future centers themselves are really the crux of who we are. So it's preparing kids to go on. The Office of College Success is what takes our kids as they're walking across the stage to whatever is next. But when we opened the future centers, we were recognizing that there were so many students in 9th grade who wish they would have known what they know, even in 12th grade too, in middle school. That you make choices in middle school, whether they're academic or social or disciplinary, all the things that happen in a special teenage brain that might close doors for you along the way. So if we can help with the awareness part in middle school, then maybe we can head off decisions that make life harder for you. So we have been doing this 8th grade symposium now for, this will be our 10th year in the spring. And we take all 600 Lynchburg City 8th graders over a few days to one of our college campuses, and we turn them into college kids for a day. And they move from building to building. They learn about workforce. They learn about training. They learn about what it's like to be a college athlete. Because you ask any 7th grade kid, and they're either going to be in the NBA or the NFL, mostly for our boys. So we talk a lot about how that's a means to an end. We talk a lot with our students about what they need to be thinking about on that bridge from 8th grade to 9th grade. And now that we're seeing students in their senior year saying, I remember that experience, and I remember having a light bulb turn on, which is pretty cool. We're in pre-COVID, we were in all middle schools really with this Heroes program where we're embedding significant others in whatever they look like. So whether they're retired adults, whether they're college age students, we're embedding them in the schools to become mentors and work as mentors with training for kids who really need it. And in the elementary schools, we're really talking more about awareness. So it's kids thinking about what kind of college and career options are available here, just like lighting the spark.
So tell me about the qualifications for these students.
It's a place-based scholarship, so you just got to live here. That's it. So we're not merit-based. We send students, we take students where they are. It's not a program. Beacon of Hope is not a program that you enroll in. We serve the entire universal population of Heritage and Glass and the Empowerment Academy and Fort Hill, the entire Lynchburg City Schools population. So we're embedded in the 2 high schools. We also kind of roam to some of the other schools. But the idea is we want to meet you. Scott Braybrand, our former superintendent, was really good with one-liners. And one of his favorite things to say is, when he described us, is, we're kind of an urgent care facility. So you can come in with a diagnosis already. If you're a student that's known they're going to college since they popped out of the womb, great. You still need help, and let us help you do all the things that will get you along the way. If you're a student who's known in their family has gone to college, much less potentially graduated high school, well, let's start there. So the idea is to meet you where you are, help you craft your Google map to whatever it looks like, help you get back on the highway if you take exits along the way. I mean, that's kind of this, we're working with a lot of students who paused and need to come back into the fold. Because our scholarships are privately funded, we have the ability to say, it's going to take you 6 years. Great. Every student has 5 years to use it. You just have to enroll so we know to save it for you. But it's not merit-based. I mean, we are sending kids to technical certification programs whose grades may not be stellar, and we're sending kids with 4.5 GPAs to, complete honors programs, and they're killing it too. It's the whole spectrum of what students look like in Lynchburg, and we're going to meet you where you are.
So, and I read about the actual funding amounts.
Yeah.
Which I want to touch on just a little bit.
Sure.
And the reason I want to touch on that is because I've mentioned my background before. My father died when I was 4. My mother raised 5 children by herself. So
it's incredible.
And nobody in my family went to college. And so I remember being possibly an 8th or 9th grader and the counselor having meetings, and the meetings were about, where are you going to go to college? You need to think about these colleges. And I'm seated in the gym, I think, is where this meeting was taking place, or lecture. And I'm thinking, I have a part-time job and I pay for my school books. And if I wanted a high school class ring, I had to pay for that. And where would all these thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars come from? But the flip side of that is that there's so many places to get help. And the sad thing is these students are just not educated enough to know, they're not helped enough to know. But there's only so many hours in the day for the people that do help them. So give us a little information about the funds they can get, how much they can get. We know it's privately funded. So and how do you, I guess you make them understand and aware of that, one student at a time.
That's the whole key to the puzzle. The whole castle is built on relationships. So one student at a time, where you are. We have 2 full-time Future Center directors. We have a full-time staff member that works with both of those Future Centers. We end up with about 24, we call them near peers. So they're college students who are from some of our local colleges who work in our Future Centers 20 hours a week. They're trained, so they're kind of the front lines. They're sitting down with students. The only requirements to take advantage of the scholarship are to complete the FAFSA, which you may remember, the free application for federal student aid. It's a bear. And for families, whether it's the first time you've done it or the 10th time you've done it, it stinks. It's hard. It's a barrier. So we have, the city of Lynchburg went from a 30% FAFSA completion rate to a 75%. And now we are among the highest FAFSA completers in the state because we take it very seriously. And there are so many people that are like, I won't qualify for anything. And, our theory is you have no idea until you do this. And once that opens doors and all of those, and it is truly the most private thing you can have a conversation with somebody about is their finances. And so we're really careful and confidential, and that all happens. And that was never happening in schools before because our school counselors do not have time to work on financial aid stuff. Like, their job is to get our students successfully to graduation. They do a great job, but you can't pile on to that and make it work. So, we take that burden off. So if you remember kind of back in the day, you used to have to do one paper application for every single college that you were going to. And it's prohibitive for kids. They don't have the time, the money, any of it. So the world created this common app, and you can do one application, send it to all the colleges that you want to go to, do tweaks here and there, and it's really cool. And we recognize that scholarships need the same thing. And there are a bajillion scholarships in Lynchburg, from the Rotary Club to the Humane Society to the Awareness Garden to, you name it. So we've created this common application for Lynchburg scholarships. Our kids can apply in one place. It really does level the playing field for all kinds of students who deserve it. And we've already seen applications go skyrocket for other scholarships. And we make sure that we're lobbying on our students' behalf for our colleges to say, with Beacon of Hope's money, plus all these others that they sweat out and work for, don't reduce the aid that you're giving them. And our colleges, all it takes is kind of that lobbying, and they'll generally agree to it. So there's like all these sort of behind the scenes things, trying to make sure our kids are standing on the highest stool they can stand on.
Well, and I think that for the most part, children, people in general, are taught from a very early age that you don't ask for anything.
That's the key.
And then when you get to the point where you're a young adult and all of a sudden you're told, no, you do ask for this, and then you're seated, you're trying to fill out this application or whatever and go through whatever process, and it has to be in the mind.
Yeah, you don't even know what you don't know.
Well, and it's in the mind, I shouldn't be doing this because I'm not supposed to ask for anything. So, but you're asking for something that leads to a better future, which leads to a better community, which leads to more and more and more. And so it's incredible what you all are doing because it's an understanding process. But actually a lot of this goes against what parents instill. And maybe your grandmother, I can hear my grandmother screaming, don't take
what
that
are you
candy.
Doing out there with your hand?
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't do that, yeah. It's the funds are there. And I know that, I went to college when I was a junior and a senior in high school. And then I went back when I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
And it was the financial piece. It was, I can't do this. This is not in any way, shape, or form attainable for me. And my mother was the most wonderful person in the world, but she did not have a skill set to even give me any assistance.
Of course not. Because she just had never been through that process. Correct. She did not know what she did not know. Uh-huh. And that's what's been really, I think, probably the most rewarding part of this is having conversations with families. And now we've been here long enough, we're starting to see cousins and younger siblings and, folks who have said, hey, these guys, street cred's okay. They helped us out. Let them help you out. We try to reach folks in a million different ways because people receive things differently. So that's really been our challenge, is making sure that folks know about it. And being embedded in the schools it's huge. Like without having this partnership with the city schools, and the schools have been entrepreneurial and forward thinking. And, we've been through 5 superintendents since we started. Oh, yeah. And every single one of them has said, this makes sense. Like, let's figure out how to do this, and we're on a great track right now. The schools, I think, have bounced back beautifully from COVID. And our job is to make sure that Lynchburg City Schools remains a destination. Like it does for all of our kids, no matter where you grow up,
Well, I have some clients who, my assistant is the mother of the wife, and they moved here from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And their children there's no such word in my life as normal because there's no
such thing, is it?
But their children are incredibly, incredibly diverse, and they have always had issues, but they're attending EC Glass. They love EC Glass. For whatever reasons, they haven't fit into a groove, and now they do. And now they want to go to school. And
what a concept.
Oh my God. I always said kudos to EC Glass. And then, of course, you've got Heritage Governor School.
There's so much great stuff.
Yes, there's
so much great stuff. And the prep is there. And I think what has been missing is the idea of connecting a student into that Google map. Like, how do we create an individual Google map with each of our students and make sure they stay on it?
So we always are running out of time.
I know it.
Yeah, maybe we need another session.
We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do it. This will become a series.
Should we get on the regular? We're doing it on your porch next time.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be fine. I promise you. And I'll cook.
I could get behind that.
Yeah. So tell us about fundraisers, because there's several, and we always want to know how people can get involved.
They're fun.
And they do get involved if it's fun.
It's fun. And they're all very unique. So we've been doing, this will be our 10th year doing a cornament, which is a cornhole tournament on the front lawn of Oakwood. If you've ever driven by, usually mid-May on a Saturday, you're going to see us out there. We have a lot of companies that jump in there. So I think we need a BH. I think we need a BH team, a BHHS, yes. And, you know, you can get out, you've got a few months to practice. And our Heritage High School shop department builds the boards for us, so they're custom heavy boards, and we've got folks who do the back. It's really special. It's a lot of fun. In November, we do a pop-up event called Art for Achievement, and we partner with the art club, Lynchburg Art Club. And last year we had 200 individual pieces of art.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's incredible. And they're all different sizes, 10 by 10, 12 by 12, 16 by 20. And then we do big mantle quality pieces, 5 or 6 as a live auction. It's at a different place every year. We were downtown at Bank of the James parking lot under a big, beautiful tent last year. This year we're going to be at Hillcat Stadium.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's going to be really fun. So
what day is that?
That's going to be November the 2nd.
Oh, I got it.
I'm going to send you all kinds of stuff for it. Yes, it's really fun. And it's a Thursday night. It's tight, tons of art, and all the bidding is online, but you need to see art. You need to see it with your eyes. And so that's really fun. And then we do a big event in March, and this is the 3rd year we will have done it. It's called HopeX, and it's a TED, it's a TEDx. It's our Lynchburg version of TEDx, and we bring together both students, young people who have had amazing experience, and kind of national and regional hometown heroes that will do TED Talks on whatever topic that we're doing. And this year, it's sort of the beautiful power of connection. That's our theme this year. So it's at the Academy.
At the Academy.
It's super fun. And that's on a Friday night. That's Friday, March 22nd, I think. It's a Friday night. And we want to pack the house. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm into the art stuff.
I know you are. You cannot have too many pieces of art in your life.
Even though my walls are good.
You have 0 wall space left.
You have no idea.
But a little 10 by 10, there's always a spot for a 12 by 12.
Somewhere.
There's a spot.
Well, Laura Hamilton, thank you so much. I'm so excited. Cannot wait to see
Oh, we're going to have so much fun. And it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You're awesome.
Oh, you too.
And thank you so much for all you do and what Beacon of Hope does for all these children, these students.
Well, right back at you for being a mouthpiece for all of us. It's really important.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, listen.
Have a great week.
Thank you. You too.